Today's Friday. I had an absolute beautiful day today. My wife and I took our kids to the beach, and it's funny because the forecast had said that today was going to be very hot and humid. But earlier on in the week, we had decided already that, you know what, Friday morning, we're going to get the kids and we're going to go to Opiate State Park. We do it pretty much every Friday. The last 2 Fridays, we haven't been able to do it for different reasons. But we had everything ready to go. We got there butt crack of dawn. We actually got there 10 minutes before Opiate State Park even opened. So we get there, and we're one of the first people on the beach. And turns out it's gorgeous. I mean, the whole day was just gorgeous there. It was breezy, a little bit windy, okay, in between like breezy and windy. And having that breeze, it was kind of like, I don't know if it was an east wind or not, but like coming off the water, but it was not hot, but not cool. You know what I mean? It was like perfect temperature, perfect beach day. And I think the fact that it was going to be so hot scared the crap out of people from coming to the beach. So it wasn't overbearingly crowded like it usually is on Fridays at Donnelly State Park. And I have a little bit of footage that I'm going to share at the very end of the video of me at the beach with my family. Okay. Now, in today's video, I'm going to share a story from an anonymous person who served in the Marines, and he's obviously a veteran. All right, so without further ado, he says, "Hey Ryan, my name is blank, and I have no problem with you sharing my story, but please keep the name anonymous as it could come back to haunt me if found. My opiate addiction began around 11 years ago at the end of my second tour in Iraq, after being blown up and shot in an ambush. Although I had massive pain in the beginning, I quickly realized the various painkillers took away the mental pain of losing friends in combat, and this became my crutch. I have been off and on opiates for the last 10 years, always thinking I had it beat when I got to that point of realizing the addiction was isolating me and destroying all parts of my life. I cleaned up to make a third tour to Iraq and stayed clean for a couple of years while I finished out my military career in the Marines. I served for 10 years. Thanks, bud. Thanks even more for serving in combat. Due to my combat-related injuries, I knew I could walk into any doctor's office and get what I needed at any time. This was another destructive piece of addiction for me in regards to availability at all times." So he pretty much had an unwritten prescription at any time, okay? And that is like having someone who is buku rich, who can buy as many drugs as they want because they have never ending supply of money, okay? This allowed me to swing right back into the addiction, which actually grew to a point that I never thought possible. Despite being very successful in the corporate world during my addiction for a time, I began to think that I could not have fun or be my best at work without these pills. For a very long time, I felt guilty that I was alive, and so many of my brothers were not. In addition, the guilt I felt from the addiction was overwhelming in regards to me making it out of combat alive and using this gift to be an addict. I have been blessed with a gorgeous wife who is against using anything, and a son whom I could not be more proud of. I have withdrawed at least 20 times in the past 10 years, and 5 times already this summer. I am currently on day 5, again, and have watched your videos for years now, for strength in tough times. I have finally reached a point of no return and realized that the sober version of myself truly is the best version I can ever manifest. Also, I believe there finally comes a time in your addiction where you simply have to admit that you are an addict. Society makes this seem like a derogatory term, but as I have seen in one of your videos, the large majority of addicts I have known were actually very intelligent people. That is more true than I could express in words. But I realized that I had to admit that I am powerless over the pills, but do have the power to ensure that I do not put them in my body. I believe this is a critical piece. I have tried to get clean for a couple weeks and just dabble in them during weekends, but I would still feel the withdrawal after thinking I was now clean. It has shown me that your brain takes a while to heal from the damage that was done during the addiction, and you simply have to cut the idea of utilizing them for anything out of your head. For those of us whom have experienced the hell of withdrawal and addiction, I've always said if you can make it to the other side, you have truly accomplished a rebirth of your own life. 100%. Ryan, I wanted to write in because I know you spent some time in the Navy, and I was hoping you could touch on PTSD and opiate addiction for veterans. There is strength in you. I see it, brother, and I feel that you could truly help a huge number of veterans whom are utilizing opiates dispensed by the VA to deal with their PTSD. If you could address it in an upcoming video, I think we all need to be reminded that there is another life outside the horrors of combat, and opiates will simply put the whole process of finding that new life on hold during dependency. Thank you for having the courage to put yourself out there, Ryan. I don't think any of us will ever know the number of lives you have or are going to save by posting these videos. I steer anyone I know whom has a problem with opiates to your channel, and I've always received a sincere thanks for doing so. Keep up the great work, brother, and God bless you moving forward. I plan on staying in touch with you and the Calm Support family to create a sense of accountability during my recovery. To everyone out there struggling, I want you to know that we all have a responsibility within the universe to manifest our greatness, and you and your loved ones deserve the right to witness that greatness manifest itself through your recovery. You really can do this. Thanks, brother. Now, what he touched on, outstanding email, first off. What he touched on was post-traumatic stress disorder and the fact that many veterans turn to opiates to help with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, anyone with post-traumatic stress disorder, this is true, okay? The reason that it hits veterans so hard is because, and I did a video on this, I guess 2 years ago. The VA, at the time I did the video, was dispensing opiates 2,000 times or 2,000% more than a civilian doctor would. So these medications were being pushed on top of antipsychotics, sleep medications, benzodiazepines. I mean, the amount of drugs that were being pushed through the VA is still remarkable that it's happening. The thing that I believe adds to, there's the 22 a day, which is 22 suicides a day by service members. I think a big part of that is obviously it's the combat, it's the loss of friends, that you, brothers, sisters. I mean, it's hard to explain what it's like to serve with people. You eat shit, sleep next to each other. You become family, and you lose them. It's like losing a family member. So on top of that, you have copious amounts of drugs being prescribed to people who are mentally unstable. Instead of helping with the actual aspect of post-traumatic stress disorder, instead of having counseling and therapy and focusing 100% on those types of problems, they're prescribing drugs. And very, very addictive narcotic drugs that, when mixed, cause extreme depression and extreme suicidal thoughts and addiction. Okay, so you add all those things together and you're dealing with, I mean, a ticking time bomb. And we've seen it over the past couple of years that you have the 22 a day. I do believe that those numbers are going to climb. And until there's a massive overhaul at the VA, things aren't going to change. I do believe they have cracked down on the number of prescribing of opiates that was being pushed, but I don't think it's enough to really make that much of a difference. All right. I'm going to do a video solely on this topic because it's an intense topic that needs to be talked about. I mean, I get very angry when I talk about what happens to veterans after they come home. It's something that bothers me greatly. That money is spent by our government in certain areas and not where it needs to be spent. And a lot of people in powerful positions in Congress, and I don't like getting political. Believe me, I am not Republican. I am not Democrat. Okay, that's something that I am not political. I believe they're all snakes. Okay, and I think a lot of people in power who have seats in these powerful positions will say one thing, and then you look at their votes. They'll be all for veterans, all for veterans. You look at their votes, and they're voting bills that would help veterans. Okay, so I'm going to do a whole video on that topic and how it deals with the opiate epidemic and the high suicide rate. All right, so I appreciate the email. I appreciate you bringing up the topic. It's a tough topic to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. Okay, so if you'd like to share your story, you can email me at ryan@compsupport.com. In the subject line, put YouTube story, my story. Let me know if you want to use your first or last name or stay anonymous. And to cheer up this video a little bit, even though I told you there's all aspects of addiction, there's even the really shitty end. To cheer up this video a little bit, I'll show you a little clip from the day at the beach. All right, so enjoy your weekend, be safe, stay clean, and I'll see you guys on Monday. All right, thanks.
Laura, look at mommy! Yay! Here comes the water.